Hi friends, this is Kaushal. Last Saturday, we did a program on the Kirkpatrick model, which talks about the four level of training evaluation. Since few of you had attended it and quite a lot of you had missed it, I decided to create a video on it and I thought I should share it with you so that you can refer it anytime. So, without further ado, let's quickly get started. We'll talk about the model in detail here. So, whenever we organize a training program in an organization, after the training, there are certain questions related to it. And what are those questions? First is how effective it has been. After the program has been conducted, the organization also asks you how effective the program was and has it really impacted the learning and behavior of the employees or not. Second is, are your people putting their learning into action? Now, it's very important because after a training, if the people are not applying what they've learned, the training has no use. So कई बार ऐसा होता है लोग आते हैं सत्यनारायण की कथा समझ के सुन के बाद में भूल जाते हैं. We don't want that. And third question is whether training program is positively impacting their role and organization wide. क्या उस ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम का कोई पॉजिटिव इफेक्ट पड़ रहा है उनके अपने रोल पे प्लस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन पे. सो दीज क्वेश्चंस आर ऑलवेज associated with the training which every organization asks itself, and after every program they'll ask you as well. क्यों पूछते हैं ना, बताओ क्या रहा, कैसा रहा, क्या इम्पैक्ट आया या आने वाला है, etc etc. Now, the answer lies in the approach which is used in training after the program, or we call it a model which evaluates the training and it strives to answer these questions. This model was basically given by Mr. Donald Kirkpatrick. This model helps us to respond to these questions, wherein you find out whether we can use it objectively to analyze the impact and see the outcome of the training. You may see how well your participants responded to the program, whether they liked it or not, whether they enjoyed it or not, and most importantly, whether they learned or not. Did the training really compel them to use the skills or knowledge they gained in their jobs? Did the program bring a change in their behavior or the way they perform their daily task? Did it make them efficient or effective? And finally, what benefit it brought to the organization? Everything can be derived from this model. Let's quickly learn about the history of this model now. So, this model was devised in 1959 by Donald Kirkpatrick. It's pretty difficult at times to pronounce. He was the professor at the University of Wisconsin, and this model was named after him. It was updated in 1975 and 1993. Then he wrote his book by the name of Evaluating Training Programs, wherein this model was published. Much later, he involved James and Wendy. James was his son and Wendy was the daughter-in-law, and they both improvised this model later. And until recently, like 7 years back, in 2016, they published in their book, which was called Kirkpatrick's Four Level of Training Evaluation. And they made certain additions in it, like how you can make your training even more effective. It looks like a family business where they improvised and developed the model many times. Now let's jump into the core model here. So the four levels are reaction, learning, behavior, and results. So let's talk about the first level. Talking about the first level, obviously the step comes only after training has finished, or the entire model rather comes only after the training is over. Now that is the reason why they brought the new edition in 2016, which talks about what kind of training we must conduct even before we plan a program. But right now we are discussing the original model or the traditional model which was given by Donald. So here we ask our participants, did you feel the training was worth for you? सबसे पहले क्या पूछेंगे कि क्या ये ट्रेनिंग आपके लिए वर्थ थी जी, कि बस टाइम पास करके आ गए? Did you think it was successful? Many people feel like that कि हाँ टाइम पास है, इससे क्या फायदा होगा, लंच किया आ गए. Even I felt like that as a participant in few trainings. Did you think that it was successful से मतलब है कि क्या आप उसको कह सकते हैं कि ये सक्सेसफुल ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम था, क्या आप उसको लर्न कर पाए जो आपको सिखाया गया? या उसको क्या आप अप्लाई कर पाएंगे इन फ्यूचर. सो दैट्स द सेकंड क्वेश्चन. थर्ड क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट वर द बिगेस्ट स्ट्रेंथ्स एंड एरियाज ऑफ डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द ट्रेनिंग. ये जानना जरूरी है कि ट्रेनिंग में क्या अच्छा था और क्या और बेहतर हो सकता है ताकि हम अपने प्रोग्राम को और बेहतर आगे बना सकें. तो बेसिकली क्या है, ये एक स्वॉट एनालिसिस है कि क्या अच्छा था, क्या और बेहतर हो सकता था, इससे कोई फायदा होगा या नहीं होगा, और भी बहुत सारी चीजें. इसके अलावा हम क्या पूछते हैं, हम पूछते हैं कि वेन्यू कैसा था, खाना कैसा था, वो लोकेशन कैसी थी, ट्रेनर का प्रेजेंटेशन स्टाइल कैसा था, क्या ट्रेनिंग एक्टिविटीज एंगेजिंग थी या नहीं थी, तीन सबसे जरूरी चीजें आपने क्या सीखी इनमें, ये भी हम पूछते हैं उनसे. तो ये सारे सवाल एक फीडबैक फॉर्म के माध्यम से हम उनसे पूछते हैं. आजकल आप उसको गूगल फॉर्म भी यूज कर सकते हैं इन क्वेश्चंस को बनाने में. अदरवाइज ट्रेडिशनल मेथड था, एक पेपर पे हम फीडबैक 10-12 क्वेश्चंस हम प्रिंट आउट करके प्रोग्राम खत्म होने के बाद हम ले लेते थे उनसे फीडबैक. ठीक है, तो ये स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चंस हैं. चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. ये भी जानना जरूरी है कि इसमें जो भी चीजें उन्होंने सीखी क्या उनको इस जॉब में आगे मदद करेगा. व्हाट सपोर्ट वुड यू रिक्वायर टू इम्प्लीमेंट द लर्निंग्स. आगे इस लर्निंग को इम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए आपको क्या सपोर्ट की जरूरत है. तो ये बड़ा अच्छा पॉइंट है. कई बार हम ट्रेनिंग तो कर देते हैं लेकिन बाद में रिजल्ट नहीं आ पाता है. तो यहाँ पे अगर हम उनसे ये भी पूछ लें कि भाई सपोर्ट अगर कोई चाहिए तो अभी से बता दो, सो दैट वी कैन स्पीक टू द मैनेजमेंट. अगला जो लेवल है लर्निंग, ये फोकस करता है लर्निंग कंपोनेंट और मेजर करने में कि आपने आपके ट्रेनीज ने क्या सीखा. सो रीसेंट मॉडल विच हैज कम अप आल्सो ट्राइज टू मेजर what they think they will be able to do differently after the program. For example, at times we ask them to fill an action sheet or to bring the commitment level or some sort of ownership. तो हम उनसे एक एक्शन शीट भरवा लेते हैं कि भाई इस ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम को अटेंड करने के बाद मैं अगले 2-3 महीने में अपने टारगेट्स कैसे अचीव करूंगा या कितना अचीव करूंगा. हम ये भी पूछते हैं कि जो आपने सीखा उसे आप कैसे प्लान करते हैं अप्लाई करने के लिए. तो ये लर्निंग्स में हम उनसे ट्रेडिशनल मेथड में आप उनसे प्री टेस्ट पोस्ट टेस्ट भी कराते हैं. अगर वो एग्जिस्टिंग एम्प्लॉय है तो आप प्री टेस्ट करेंगे, पोस्ट टेस्ट करेंगे. लेकिन अगर वो नए एम्प्लॉय है तो आप सिर्फ पोस्ट टेस्ट भी करते हैं लर्निंग डिराइव करने के लिए. बट जरूरी नहीं है कि हर ट्रेनिंग में प्री टेस्ट पोस्ट टेस्ट या टेस्ट हो, रिटन टेस्ट या ऑब्जेक्टिव टेस्ट. कई बार बिहेवियरल प्रोग्राम फॉर एग्जांपल, इसमें आप एज सच रिटन टेस्ट ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप नहीं ले सकते हैं. आप ज्यादा ही कर सकते हैं कि उनका एक मॉक इवैल्यूएशन कर लिया आपने, एक रोल प्ले कर लिया, उनको एक सर्टेन पैरामीटर्स में आपने असेस कर लिया. तो इस तरह से भी आप लर्निंग डिराइव कर सकते हैं. सो बेसिकली लेवल 2 में जो है इन्होंने ट्राई क्या किया है कि दे ट्राई टू एड रिजल्ट्स वेयर वी आर ट्राइंग टू असर्टेन वेदर पीपल आर कॉन्फिडेंट इन व्हाट दे हैव लर्नड, whether they feel that they will be able to implement their learnings in their jobs in different ways. This demonstrates how training has developed their skills, attitudes, and knowledge, and as well as confidence and commitment. We may also compare here that how was the participants' knowledge and confidence level earlier, before training and after training. जैसा कि मैंने कहा प्री टेस्ट पोस्ट टेस्ट है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं आपको कुछ एग्जाम्पल देना चाहूँ तो वोडाफोन, I worked with Vodafone as a process trainer. वहां पे हम क्या करते थे, आफ्टर 15 days of training हम एक मॉक इवैल्यूएशन करते थे. मॉक इवैल्यूएशन में जब वो पास हो जाता था तभी हम उसको सर्टिफाई करते थे. ठीक है, तो इस तरह से. या ऑटोमोबाइल इंडस्ट्री में भी मैंने जैसे काम किया तो हम क्या करते थे कि पहले किसी भी कार एज अ प्रोडक्ट का को ट्रेनिंग रूम में उनको अच्छे से उसके फीचर्स बताने के बाद हम उनसे डेमो लेते थे फिजिकल कार के ऊपर, और 6 स्टेप डेमो के माध्यम से वी यूज्ड टू इवैल्यूएट देम कि हर एक डेमो पॉइंट पे वो किस तरह से फीचर्स को एक्सप्लेन कर पा रहे हैं. तो इस तरह से लर्निंग हम डिराइव करते हैं. ठीक है, सो चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. लेट्स टॉक अबाउट बिहेवियर. दिस लेवल हेल्प्स यू टू अंडरस्टैंड हाउ वेल पीपल अप्लाई देयर ट्रेनिंग. एट दिस स्टेज बेसिकली आप फील्ड पे जाते हैं, या तो ऑब्जर्व करते हैं, या इंटरव्यू लेते हैं, या सर्वेस करते हैं, जो भी करते हैं, तो आप ये देखते हैं कि उनका बिहेवियर चेंज हुआ या नहीं हुआ. ठीक है, इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट यहाँ पे नोट करने वाला ये है कि ये जो मॉडल है वो ये भी कहता है कि आफ्टर ट्रेनिंग बिहेवियर कैन ओनली चेंज व्हेन कंडीशंस आर फेवरेबल, राइट. समटाइम्स व्हेन यू सी दैट पीपल अटेंडिंग ट्रेनिंग बट देयर वाज नो चेंज इन बिहेवियर और नो पॉजिटिव आउटकम इज सीन, then you might feel that training was ineffective. But the possibility is that people learned up but were not able to implement. Maybe culture of the organization is preventing them, or the organization doesn't promote culture of change, in that situation, even if they have learned, they will not be able to implement cause there was no supplementary effort. And this will not benefit the organization further. And that is the reason why when new model was proposed, they said that we need to add required drivers. If we want to bring a change in behavior, we need to bring in certain drivers which motivates them to bring that change and which will act as a catalyst of change. Now, we will need to praise them, reward them, recognize them for their initiatives. I'll give you an example. Recently, we trained people on a cross-sell product apart from the existing product which we used to sell in our company. And these people, after the training, did not really sell those cross-sell products. Why? Because after the training, the incentive plan was not developed. उनको incentive मिल ही नहीं रहा था उस नए प्रोडक्ट को बेचने पे। तो उनका ये लॉजिक था कि भाई हम को जब कुछ मिलना नहीं है इस एडिशनल प्रोडक्ट को बेचने से, तो हम क्यों ये प्रोडक्ट बेचें, जाहिर सी बात है। तो देखिए इसमें रिक्वायर्ड ड्राइवर्स क्या हैं, उनको भी हमें कंसिडर करना पड़ेगा, राइट। लेट्स मूव ऑन। बिहेवियर में एक और चीज है, वन मोर फैक्ट इज दैट वी नीड टू रियलाइज दैट बिहेवियरल चेंज डज नॉट हैपन ओवरनाइट. That is why we need to measure it after a period of certain interval, but ensure not too long. Maybe after a week or a month, it's good. Now, the points to be observed or measured is that did the training put any of their learning to use? Are trainees able to teach their new acquired attitude, skills, and knowledge to others? Are they aware that they have changed their behavior? Things like that. Now, what is the best method to assess or measure behavior? One of the best way to measure behavior is to conduct observation and interview. The question we may or ask or observe is whether after training, did they put any of their learning to use, whether they would be able to teach others what they have learned. Some organizations use surveys, but it is evidently found that surveys never give you the real picture. The people may, out of fake responses, its sanctity of service is always questionable. Best is interview. Talk to the people. Human factor is there. Always will give you the result. Okay, so let's move on. We'll talk about the fourth part, that is results. This is the most important. Why? Because it may be possible that your participants loved the training, thoroughly enjoyed, maybe learned as well, even changed their behavior. But finally, organization wants to see the results, more so in financial terms. And that is why we compare it with ROI. And that means whatever we invested, man, machine, money in learning and development is converted into financial or monetary benefits. That is why the fifth element is added, that is ROI. And this is the most time consuming and costly affair in L&D. Even more costly than conducting a training, because we may not know the results immediately. It also challenging because we can't relate every outcome, benefit or result with training. It is very difficult to estimate that accurately. That is the reason we cannot tell exactly whether we were able to bring any change really or not. It is always long term. We may not be able to tell it in short terms. Example, when it talk about behavioral change, it takes time to see the impact over a long period of time. So it's a long-term process. Now, what is the modern approach? So most of the modern trainers want to use this model and see the results. They want to find out whether there was a difference, whether there was a monetary benefit, whether we must continue arranging such trainings or not. This helps in prioritizing the goal of training. So what we do, we use a Kirkpatrick model in reverse order. Okay, so that's the modern approach. We can use the Kirkpatrick model in reverse, like think about results first, even before the training has started, and then come to how it will change the behavior, or probably what behavior we need to change, and to change that behavior, what learning objective we should put in training, and how should I design and develop the training program, how I can make it engaging so that the reaction is comes out to be great. There are certain problems with this model as we speak, and that's why the 2016's new modern approach came up, obviously. So let's talk about the problems as well. One of the first problem is that training has been replaced with learning and development. While training is after a certain period of time, the impact of the training, goes down. But learning, when we say learning, learning is a never-ending process. It's more proactive rather than, pushing through. Obviously, the core model has changed and we may refer to it anyway, but may not directly adapt it. Instructor-led trainings or classroom trainings have reduced in the organizations you might see, and more of a self-learning videos, bite-sized learning have come up in the picture due to hybrid scenario. Okay, and that's why the existing model may not be suitable to the novel approach in training. Third thing is that the level 3 and level 4, that is behavior and results, are quite time consuming and resource intensive. ये बहुत टाइम लगता है भैया, बहुत मेहनत लगती है इसको असेस करने में. मे बी ड्यू टू द कॉस्ट एंड मनी इन्वॉल्व्ड, organizations may skip them. Okay, so these are the limitations. But still, having said that, this model still acts as a base for trainers. So this model has been revised many times, new elements have been added. It's a 60-year-old model, but still it holds, importance. Also, we need to understand that there are many factors affecting this model. Like imagine there is a new boss, new system. They might also impact the people's learning, right? So may not necessary that the result is only brought by training. There could be multiple factors. And that's why there is a lot of debate around this. But still, this model acts as a guiding lamp in training. So I hope we understood this model. Thank you very much. Now I'll quickly share the case study with you in the form of files. I want you to go through them. So you might find it in two sections. One is there are certain files which tells you about, gives you a picture about the case, and there is a document wherein I have mentioned. So I've numbered the document 1, 2, 3, 4. You can refer them one by one. The first document will give you a clear outline how a training program has been designed. Okay, so make use of it. If you have any questions, please get back to me anytime. Thank you.